according to me, that's the top of the hour, so we shall begin the webinar. Try and begin on time and hopefully finish on or before time. Welcome along. This is what's new in Civil 3D and Infraworks 2023. You may have noticed slightly different icons for all the programs, the Autodesk products. This lovely purple color this year. This webinar, if you've got questions on the way through, type them into the chat or the Q&A, and we'll, if we get time at the end, try and wrap up some of those before we finish. But in order to begin the webcast, for those who haven't caught up with it, A2K has become part of the VinZero group of companies now. So we have a large number of staff we can draw on from across the world and all sorts of different fields of work. Thus, we have much expanded technical expertise we can draw upon for our clients. VinZero itself, 32 offices globally, 550 employees. So it's a big change from what we were able to bring to our clients previously. And many different types of services, thus those are expanded as well. So that's a little bit about us, a little bit about me. For those who haven't met before, that's me in the picture in the corner. And I've been doing this, working for A2K, doing the civil products for the last sort of 15, 16, 17 years or so. So in terms of what we're going to be looking at this webcast, if you've, well, obviously you've all signed up for this webcast, you've probably seen this already, but there are pressure point improvements, corridor targets and solid improvements, Project Explorer, grading, optimization stuff, little bits and pieces mostly, not terribly large things have been added in. A couple of other small changes, and then we'll look at Infraworks as well. Again, small changes, nothing too huge. And that's part of the policy of the way Autodesk does it these days, in that changes are actually introduced incrementally through each year as the new updates come out. So previously, an update to Civil 3D would have had a few bug fixes and those sorts of things for problems they've encountered and fixed in the previous sort of 3-4 months. But these days it has that, plus new functionality gets built in throughout the year as well. So if you're not getting your updates throughout the year, I would suggest A, you do it for the bugs anyway, and B, you're going to get extra functionality throughout the year as you go. So we're not getting a big step every time there is an update to a new version, a new year. It's much more incremental now. All right, and in Infraworks, this command search cloud credit items have been removed, which is cool, and a few interoperability improvements to Inventor and the like. So we'll go and have a look through those. So let's take a little look, shall we? First of all, Civil 3D 2023. There has been up till now no ANZ country kit. This morning I checked and there is, so I suspect in the last 1 or 2 days it's suddenly been released. So that's great. We've finally got the country kit with all the pipes and things in the background that we're wanting. And there were or have been a number of updates or improvements that I've been asking for in the country kit itself, not just Civil 3D. I have yet to go through and see which ones have been implemented and which ones have not. I know already there's a couple I checked that have not been implemented yet. So it's always the case. About half get put in, about half don't of the things I asked for. However, over time, I guess we'll find out what those are. The Country kit though, as far as I know, there's no big changes to that. It's just been improvements and things that have been missed out previously. Hopefully that have been asked for by me and other people will have been made, at least some of them. So let's have a look at some of these things. The first thing I want to have a look at is pressure pipes. So we're going to cover off the big ticket items first, and pressure pipes is probably one of them. So for those who haven't used the pressure pipes before, let's just open a drawing. So I'm going to open pressure pipes drawing. This was made before the country kit was out, so I'm just using the NCS template here, so my long sections won't look terribly great. However, now that we've got the country kit, that won't be a problem. All right, pressure pipes. So when we create a long section for one of these, so I've just got a straight series of pressure pipes here. We'll connect it up. There's another one here that is running through. For those who haven't seen pressure pipes before, just quickly, let's see if we can do this. It creates actual 3D objects, which are solids, and you can cut your long sections and things through them effectively with joins in the corners. Better join, there you go, which are all your fittings. If I make a long section out of these, there's a whole bunch of things in the ribbon to work with these. And if I make a profile out of this pipe run, we can tell it to maintain a depth below the ground surface based on just those fitting locations or along the cut length. Now the cut length didn't used to be modifiable before, so I'm going to go cut length and just have a go with it, or easily modifiable. Anyway, I'll show you where they are in just a minute. So if I make a profile there, it's going to create it from the surface. It's going to be 700 down, and it wants dynamic, and we'll make a new long section. We'll go OK and accept all the defaults for now and pop it over there. So here is my long section for just a pressure pipe. Now if I select it, we're now getting it's working out that 700 depth below the ground surface at the places where the pipe is cut. And there's some fittings and things in here that you're seeing as well. But it used to give you grips all the way along here, or nodes that you could adjust the level. Anywhere there was a triangle in the EG surface. So you got hundreds of grips all the way along here. And when you tried to adjust one of these things, it would often have steps in the pipes and all that sort of carry on, because there was all these other vertexes you were leaving behind, so you had to delete out a whole lot of them. But it's now not doing that, which is nice. So if I pull it down to them. So that's easily adjustable now. What we can also do, which is new, before we do that, let's have a look at the cut lengths, where they are. If we go into the settings tab over here, the pressure pipe or pressure network and the parts list for the pressure network. For each of these pipes in the pressure network, when you're putting them in, edit it, there is now a, that was a fitting. Let's go back to my pressure pipes, using my PVC pipes. Edit one of these. It's now a field in here that you can set when you're creating all your pipes, or modify it for each pipe size if they're all different. Probably wouldn't be that different, they'll be in groups, I'd imagine. So that's where the cut length is. It wasn't accessible there before, but now it is. So that's a goodie if you're wanting that. By the way, all of these pressure pipes you can see me choosing from here. These are all of the Australian and New Zealand standard pipes. Where did you get them from, I hear you ask? Well, I did a webcast a little while ago. If you haven't seen it, I'm just going to jump into YouTube here and put A2K pressure in YouTube search. Here's a webcast I've done on those. It is a pipe catalog that I generated, and we give it away now. And if you want that, watch the video, see how to use it. And if you want it, there's a email address at the end to write to, and you'll get the pressure pipe sent out to you, pressure pipe catalog. All right, so go and have a look at that one if that's something you want, you haven't seen it yet. However, that'll give you a whole bunch of pipes and fittings, tees, all sorts of stuff in there that we never had before. All right, so that's the cut lengths. Yes, okay. So previously, if you wanted a step down in your pipes, you could pick the profile that we had, and you can manually grip edit it. You could also or define a new depth for a certain length of this pipe. So if it wanted to go down to 1 meter deep rather than 0.7 over a certain length, you could define that. Instead of that now, or in addition to that now, you can actually draw yourself a profile and ask the pressure pipes to follow the profile. So I'm going to draw one in here and go, so the depth could be variable potentially. Profile view properties, no, I want profile creation tools. Draw myself a profile in there, call it depth, or depth change. Labels are fine. If you want labels, yep, that'll do. Okay, and I'll sketch. I want it to start here to go down to turn off my snaps would be great. Down to here, maybe come up at an angle so it's non-uniform, and finish on there. All right, so we've drawn ourselves a profile in there. We'd like the pipe to follow that instead of being 700 below the ground surface. So we can draw our own ones now. The way we add that is to pick a pipe, or a pipe run that is, go back into the pipe run profiles tool, and there is an override tab. This is where you could specify different depths before. Now we can actually tell it to use a different profile. So in here, it's the reference profile we want it to follow. That's the depth change one I just grabbed, and the start and end point we want it to look for it will be start point here, end point there. Okay, and how do you want to, you'll clean up any PVIs that were there before. Go okay. With a bit of luck, it's actually stuck to that new profile that we sketched in or drafted in very carefully. It should be dynamic to it as well still. Yep, it is. Well, actually no, I missed it. I'll do that. Try moving this instead. There we go, it is. Except where you manually grip edit it off, the manual overrides it. Okay, so we can now follow a profile we've drawn instead of just a depth change. The other goodie in here is the ability when we're editing or changing one of these pipe runs, to come up here, and when you're looking for a pipe to add, the ANZ Australia New Zealand standards have thousands and thousands of parts. You can search the field now. So when you click on that drop down, the drop down becomes search by keyword, and I can type in here VIN, and that will find all the Vindex pipes. I can type in 100, and that will find all the 100 diameter pipes in the list. So that makes it much, much easier to use a large catalog like what this one is. It's 7,000 parts or something in this catalog. So the search field there, the tricky bit is, where's my search field gone? It's not, I expected it to be down the bottom of that list or something. It's not, it's the drop down changes into a search field up the top, right up there. Okay, I think you might get the same ones in here. Yeah, you can search in here as well to find all the Vindex for the fittings, for instance. So that's actually a big help. All right. Oh, by the way, while I remember about it, when I loaded the country kit, the first couple of times it took to start up Civil 3D took ages, like 2-3 minutes. I then did a couple of restarts, and then it went back to being quick. So just be aware of that. It will take a long time. It hasn't actually frozen. It's must be doing some sort of stuff in the background, loading things up. Okay, corridor targets. All right, so that's the pipes, bits and pieces. Again, if you've got any questions, put them in the chat or the Q&A for the meeting. I'm going to close that one. I might as well go yes. And I'm going to open another drawing called corridor targets, hopefully. Which one was I going to do? Targets, that one there will do. Okay, so in the corridor targets, for those who haven't picked it up, if you're not using either 2022 with the latest updates applied or 2023 yet, the targeting dialog box has changed for a corridor. So if I pick the corridor here, go into edit targets in that region, enter, this is what it now looks like. So there's two tabs in the middle. There's a surface tab on the right, which is where you'd set all your surfaces for your things like your batter slopes, daylight minimum width in this case, my batter slopes. And there is a set all for each of those on the side here. These are usually mandatory. And there's also the set all, the old set all button up the top, where you can set all of your surfaces for all of them all at once, which is good. That wasn't there to begin with. The optional targets are in the offset and elevation tab. Now I'm still getting my head around this dialog box really. Some things are better than the old ones. Some things are less clicks really. Some things are, yeah, it's going to take me a little while to get used to them. But what we can do is with our targets for, say, our lane super elevation there, if I want to change the width target. Now, if I want to, it's done subassembly by subassembly. So that's the width target for it. That's the elevation target for the same one. They're just up above each other. It changes the panels down the bottom. Now, the thing about the new thing that they've introduced in here in 2023 is that you can filter in this case, these are all alignments, and the group on the right is all the feature lines and polylines, things that could be targeted. You can filter these. So by name, if I click on name, we can put in side asterisks, and it finds all the alignments called side something. You do need the asterisks. And so if I go into there, I get just those, and I can tick on the target that I want to use, just simply ticking it on there. Or I can use the green pick on screen button, that's still there as well. If I want to clear that filter, there is a clear filter button on the right. So that's just a couple of extra things in here. If you haven't seen this dialog box, that was sort of halfway through 2022, I think that was introduced. That's probably one of the bigger changes that's happened in the last year or so. The other thing in here is if anybody is using the targets for the horizontal conditional targets. So if I have a look at this object viewer, this particular corridor has been built such that where I want it to, I didn't save it after I made a change, never mind. Where I want it to, it's putting these stubs for driveways to attach to the corridor. How it's doing that is a horizontal conditional target. So there's branches in the subassembly, and it's looking for a polyline drawn off to the side of the corridor, and that's where it's putting in the driveway stubs. So these are dynamic to the line. So if I want not a double width driveway, a single width driveway there, my corridor, if it's on rebuild automatic, will rebuild. Previously, if you added a new polyline into here for a new driveway in there that we forgot about, it would do this. It would just not update, and we'd have to go back into the targets, reset that layer. Now, it's still not completely 100%. It's supposed to just do that automatically. If I do a regen, it doesn't do it. If I rebuild the corridor, it still doesn't do it. I don't believe, but it should, I think. So there's still a wrinkle to iron out there. Yeah, but the wrinkle can be ironed out if you just move one of these existing ones. It suddenly happens. So it is just a wrinkle, and you could move that obviously back to where it was, the width that you wanted, and you're good to go. So little trick in there, but at least you don't have to go back in your targets and reset everything. You can just draw new ones. Deleting works as it did before. Okay, few little things in there. That's lots of fun. If you want to know how to do this, that's part of our advanced Civil 3D course. All right. Next. So, yes, okay. So if we've got, we might change drawing here, I think. If you're extracting corridor solids from a corridor, close that one. There's a couple of little improvements being made in that. So let's go solids. This one here, property sets. So when you extract your corridor solids, there has been the ability to attach property set data to that extraction. So if I pick my corridor, up in the ribbon, it's this button here, extract corridor solids. So that's to take it out to things like Navisworks and the like, take your corridor out, and then you can do clashes off it if they are solids. So it wants me to select the regions to export. I'm just going to select that. It's just one big region, and you can color them up and give them names and things like that. However, in the property data tab, they've added some additional things in here. Some of these handle ones are new to get the corridor handle and the assembly handle. The handle is the number that the computer uses to recognize it by. And I think a couple of others as well. You can make your own user-defined data as well, if you want. That can be added to the property sets when you export it. Finally, when you export it, you can go to a different drawing if you want. I'm going to insert it into the current drawing, and I'm going to maintain a dynamic link to the corridors. If the corridor moves, the solids do as well. And I'm going to go extract solids. We've done that. There are all the corridor solids that we have. Select similar. And they're just AutoCAD solids. Look at them. So that's all as per normal. What they found though, and what somebody's obviously complained about it, is that in the properties of these things, so I'll pick one of them. Control 1, bring up the properties. In the extended data, that's where all that information comes through. So you could, for instance, or go and change it, whatever the council should be, the owner for this road, council. We get all these handles in here. Now, the thing that happened apparently in the older version is if I changed my corridor, it's the corridor, by changing the length of the region, for instance, or splitting the region, and then the solids updated, the handles would all change. So apparently that doesn't happen now. The handles remain the same that are reported in the extended data. So somebody must have asked for that to happen. It's not a big change for most users, but that's the little improvement they've made there if you happen to see that. If you haven't seen that before, that's the way to take your corridors out to Navisworks. And all that data goes out to Navisworks as well. So your custom properties will go that way as well. All right. Yep, no, that's all we wanted from there. Next. Let's close this one. Going through to the next drawing, which is Project Explorer. All right, so hopefully most of you will have seen that there is this thing called Project Explorer, which opens up the database of the drawing and allows you to get reports and actually change drawing through that interface. So in the home tab of the ribbon, it's Project Explorer here. What I use or have used this most often for so far is comparing one thing to another. So as-built as compared to the design drawing, for instance. So in the background here, zoom in on it, I've got some survey points, like for an as-built. This is for a bit of rail. And you can compare those points to other things. So for instance, looking at the points here, you can compare that point group to things like alignment. So the alignment that that rail was supposed to be following, you can see how far out of tolerance it is. This is the new part. You can now do the same compare. It doesn't have to be an alignment profile anymore. It can be compared to actually feature lines. So if we compare it to, say, the test one, what it actually does, previously these columns at the right-hand side would have all been 0, 0, 0. Now it's giving you a compared X and Y offset, or the closest offset to the line, and a Z elevation change. Thought I'd change my, I must have snapped my, I know, I've been playing around here and changed my elevations. Let's try a different one. Let's do the test one. There we go, that's better, they're closer. This one's way up the hill, this one here, but it's 2 and 3 meters different from the points down the bottom here. Ideally, well, let's drape this on the ground surface. Let's see if we can get something better. That one there. I'm going to redrape it. As you can see, you can leave that as a modeless dialog box. You can leave it setting up and modify your drawing in the background. Go OK there. And compare it against test one. Test. It is, or should be, dynamic. It should be. I need to give it a nudge. It's not playing ball now. That was, it's not updating this. Let me just give it, close that and start again. Might be because I've got the webcast running, but when I was using that before, she was all dynamic, and I just moved the polyline and it would update. So we're comparing it to, oh, sorry, the feature line, I should say. Test. There we go. That's what I would expect to be seeing, because I draped it on the ground surface. It should be much closer to those points now. I had to move this just before the webcast, so maybe that's done something. But that should be, if we look at what point number is that? Point number 8. It should be one of these ones down here. It is third from the bottom. If I move my feature line now and don't snap it to things, no, it must be because I've got the webcast running. It's interfering with it. It does update dynamically when you don't have other things running in the background. There's sort of the table rebuilds itself every time I make a change, and that's what it should be doing. It's just not going to behave now, is it? So that's what the new thing about the feature lines compared to points is. The other thing is totals. They didn't have the ability to total some of these tables. Some of them do now. So for instance, the pipe networks. In the layout here for the table for the pipe network, you can go into the layout and there's a few options you can turn on. So it's pipes, and there we go. Setting the column layout for the pipes themselves. We have this show total cell. So for instance, we might want for the pipes in this particular network to show the total 3D length, center to center, and the total 3D length to the inside edge of the structures. Okay. And so if we go to our pipes tab now, we've now got down the bottom here the 3D length and the to the center to center and the inside edges of each pipe being reported out. And if we report the whole thing out to a file, to Excel, for instance, go okay. I'm just going to keep it the same format as this, just the default. Not going to. You can make your own formats. Put it on the desktop. In fact, I want CSV, save it. And go and have a look at it. When you export it to Excel, you'll get the total columns as well. So here's a total row, I should say, down here. And if we scroll along, there's the ones we've asked for. It doesn't happen for everything, but it is possible on some of the, I guess they're mostly going to be the length columns for the various items. Okay, cool. How are we off for time? Getting there, but not too bad. Grading optimization. So I have done a webcast of last year sometime. Whoops. I just closed my Civil 3D, didn't I? No, I didn't. I just got out of there. Okay, I think I'm going to need this one up in a minute, so I'm going to leave that there for the moment. But what I'm going to do is go and open a new drawing. Actually, I'll do this one now while I'm here. Let's get out of here. we're getting on to the smaller extra features now. For those, there's not probably many people using the rail, but there's a couple. For a rail, you had these cant symbols you could put on your alignment. I hope I saved this. You can pick your alignment now and you can put in a new label, which would be a cant information label. And I've made just a little style here that'll do a demonstration. And now you can pick a point anywhere along the alignment, and it will give you the, well, whatever you cant information that you want, that you specify. In my case, I put the applied cant to be shown in the label and the lateral acceleration calculated at that point. So if I come down to somewhere in the middle of my bend, I can click in there and put another one, which is good. Never had those before. You can drag them out the way, of course, and make them look a little better, or I haven't spent time making up a style for these, so it's just the default style. The one thing it doesn't do is give you a grip in here so you can drag it along the alignment. That would be nice. So they're not really dynamic at the moment. They just go on to the point that you've chosen. However, you can see that there's a 225 cant there at the moment, 0 there, and 111 in between at the point that I chose. So little improvement for those using rail. The rail things, there is one other thing that won't really affect us very much in the rail, which is in the catalogs. They've put in some additional American catalogs in here, but that's not going to affect us at all, this part of the world. Okay, I can close that one now, I think. Let's go and okay, yes. Let's go and have a look at the grading optimization. So another one of these. So for those who haven't seen grading optimization yet, this might blow your mind. I did do a webcast on this, say, about a year ago. Lots of other people have as well. So basically, you define these areas. Now, grading optimization is a button here in the home tab of the ribbon on the left, and that will tell you you've got to load it up. You've got to go to the Autodesk website and download it. It's a new thing. It's free. Well, it's relatively new, a couple of years, and it's free. When you load it up, it goes into the Analyze tab in the ribbon and over here on the side. And so basically, you define some grading objects in your drawing. You've got all these building pads and zones with different grades and things on them. So I've made a zone there, and it's got for that particular zone, which is my platform that I want to put a house on. It's got some percentage values that it's allowed to run between, and I've put the same with the out to the edge of the property boundary. I've given another zone with different grade values. Customize. Oh, that must be zone 2. Okay, I'm not going to go into that too much at the moment. Where's my zone 1 is my property, but go and have a look at that. You can set your buildings to be flat, and you can put car park areas and all sorts of things into the area that you want to analyze. What it does is, once you've done all that, I'll close that and close. I'll get rid of this. Okay. Is you can go and optimize it. So you click on optimize. It wants to select a surface to use as the existing ground. I'm going to use just my EG. It'll open up this, and in this panel, 2 things. One is they've put in some help features into here. So as you're working in this panel, you get some help information down the side. So here's my zones. It changes depending on what you're doing in here. So it'll give you some information on how to use this thing and what you're doing. But also probably the slightly bigger thing is when you're ready to go, escape there, close that. click on optimize. Watch what happens down in here when I do that. It's going to change my ground surface and start working on the contours. If I turn one of these on to show my cuts and fills, it's optimizing the area in there to have the minimum amount of cut and fill to achieve the results of grade and height and other things that I've set in there to make one zone work in relation to the other. It's all still optimizing at the moment down the bottom. They've put in some extra interpretive icons in here to tell you how far through the process it is down the bottom. So if it fails at some point, you can tell where it failed. It's also given you some extra information here around the progress bar or progress chart. Is it likely to get to a solution? Yeah, it looks like it will. Or if things were making sense, it would stop at the red review needed stage. So they've made a few little changes and improvements in there. Also, I can stop it at any point if I'm happy. It's going to keep going until it gets super optimized. So I'm just going to stop mine there. And you can send the result back to Civil 3D as a surface. The thing that they've changed in here is that when it needs to bring feature lines back, there were some issues with those crossing, I think, in the past. They've resolved some of those issues. So that's another little thing that they've changed. If you're using this, you can go finish, and it gives me my new surface as a start point for me to continue my design, but that's what it's found is gives me the amount of cut and fill to achieve the results that I asked for. All right, so that is grading optimization. There's lots of webcasts up on YouTube, not just the one that I did, that shows you how to use that. Okay, a couple of other things. There is section view speeds. So when you have a drawing that has cross sections already made in it, that is has been improved a little bit. So I did a little bit of a test, and I think it's probably maybe 25%, maybe 30% faster than what it was before when you do a regen with cross sections in the drawing. So not a massive change, but it's something. There is a drawing transformation button. If you're trying to transform a drawing, let's see if I can open one. That one. That had a coordinate system assigned to it. You couldn't do it with civil objects before. It is still a work in progress, as I understand it. I have had it crash a couple of times, so we'll see how it goes this time. How are we off? I think we're okay. So it's in the toolbox in the tool space, and it's under miscellaneous utilities. I think you have to load this one. I don't think it comes by default. You have to go and add that as go and find it on the Autodesk website. It's a free one. But if I go coordinate system transformation, it comes up with this dialog box. That's what the drawing is currently in. So if I wanted zone 51 GDA 2020 at the moment, if I wanted to take it back to zone 51 GDA 94, fingers crossed it'll work. Go okay. Tells you some things couldn't be transformed because on the drawing they were outside the limits. I'm not sure what that is. It could be an XREF I had attached or something like that, or it could be this a site. But in any case, it gets most of these. Transform the model, okay. And with a bit of luck, it'll work this time. As I say, I have had it crash, but okay. It gives you a nice report. So anything that it couldn't move, it will let you know. These ones that have got the ticks are the things that it has moved. So it looks like some of the labels, well, they should auto move if the object moves. So you can go through and have a bit of a look if there's anything that it's missed and you'd need to try and move it yourself potentially. But it looks like most of them have worked in this case, which is good for me. I've skipped 3 things. What does it skip here? Oh, it's a profile. Some profiles, you need to go and check those, make sure they haven't moved in relation perhaps to the long section, but I think they should be okay. It probably just hasn't moved the long section either, I suspect. And then it gives you a report of the objects that it has actually moved. Cool. All right. So that's nice. As I understand it, it doesn't do everything yet, but it is nice that that's there for the civil objects now, which you never had before. All right. Finally, if I go back to the PowerPoint, there's one other thing in the subassembly composer. For those who are using subassembly composer, and that'll only be a few of you probably, I've done a webcast on this, lots of other people have as well, if you need to build your own subassemblies. It's this thing called an auxiliary curve. We had auxiliary links, which are straight line segments. Basically, it's a sketch line or a construction line that you can use for building other things. There is now an auxiliary curve. So, you know, it's not going to make much difference to most people, but for those who like to use the subassembly composer, that's a goodie. All right, that is pretty much through the civil 3D stuff. So I wanted to go and have a quick look at Infraworks. There's not so many Infraworks things, but the big ticket item in here is going to be the removal of the cost for doing things like these watersheds. So the watershed was under drainage, I think. And I'm not going to do them. It takes a few minutes to go send it away to Autodesk and come back again. You click on watershed and you pick a point down the bottom of a gully, and that's what I've done for this one. And it will go up and work out the contributing area to the creek in the bottom of that gully. It will sketch in where approximately the creek is in relation to the surface, which is the black line given here. And it actually works out, if I have a look at the properties of this thing, a flow for, in this case, the 100-year flow. Depending on the numbers that you've put in the background for the hydrology method that you can choose. So that's quite nice. And if you put a culvert on that black line, it actually picks up the flow from that line and puts it through the culvert, and then you can analyze the number of pipes you've got, for instance, for the culvert, which is a goodie. So if I zoom in, so you can see it's running sort of half full with those size pipes. I could say change my, nope, can't change the pipe size there, I have to do it on screen, or perhaps change my number of barrels here down to 2. So should recalculate it. There it goes. And see if I can get away with just 2 pipes instead of 3. Or maybe just. I'm not getting a step in this, but it's quite a steep bit of culvert, that one. But all the culvert tools that we had before, that's all the same. It just happens to pick up the flow. So that's a nice one. Also, previously when this used to cost about $60 or something to do one of these, people would just take it out to Civil 3D, you know, export the surface and do it in Civil 3D. But often if you had a LiDAR surface, that would be very, very hard to do because it gives you tiny little catchment areas all over the place because the LiDAR surface bumps up and down dramatically. This does more of a, as you can see by the shape of it, it's actually doing converting it into a grid surface and smoothing out the surface to work out the catchment area. So it's much better for large areas and large detailed surfaces to just go out and give you a catchment and give you a good solution You get the same thing can be run on, and I've done it over here, and then this takes even longer to send away, so that's why I've done it for you already. On a design road in here, you can, with a design road, you can right click on it and go, where is it? Right away, drainage, and oh no, sorry, it's not that. It's the same tool as we used to pick before, but when you, instead of picking a point on the ground surface, you pick a design road, and it will look at all the catchment above that design road, find the creeks that run underneath that road, and missed this middle bit, probably because of the conversion to a grid. And then you can put a culvert on each one of those. So there's a culvert down here. So again, that would have cost you a nice little flow through the pipe represented there. Would have cost you another $60 before. So now that's all been removed and it's all free. Just comes with your license now. The other thing that used to cost was the optimization of a profile. So here I've got a road I sketched in, design road again, and thought, okay, that's looking pretty good. There is the ability to send that away for optimization as well. It's under here, profile optimization, yeah. When you're looking for those things and you don't know where a command is, there's a new thing as well. It's hidden under the utilities down in here, command search. This is a new one. So if I put in profile, it'll find the profile optimization. It'll also remember the last ones you were looking for as well. So traffic simulation, where the heck is that? It actually just starts it directly from there if you wanted to. So that's under the tools. That's where that's hidden. That's a new thing. And yeah, the profile optimization is new. It produces a report when you do it, so and spits out the result to a new what do you call these things? I've forgotten what you call these things now. Proposal. That's it. Proposal. So it went through, looked at the road that I'd sketched in, optimized the profile based on cost. So it had a cost in there for cut and fill, cost for what a bridge would cost, and produces a big report, a report for you. Had a borrow pit in the middle here, and then gives you all the information that's worked out, all the costs it's worked out. I think that's the borrow pit, yeah, the mass diagram there, mass haul diagram, and going on down some cross sections as well, and some volumes down the bottom. Okay, this takes a long time to come back, like about half an hour or so. But that also used to cost, and now that's for free. Almost up at time now. A couple of other things just in Infraworks before we finish. In the style palette here, the parametric models. This is where all the bridge components come from. And you can make or you could make your own ones in Inventor before. So looking at, say, the, where are we, peers. These are all the peers. You can make a new one. And you had to export them from Inventor through the, what's it called, infrastructure parts editor or something like that. Apparently now, when you want to make a new one, it can read directly an IPT file. Which is nice, not having to export it specifically now. I haven't tested that, but apparently that's how it works. The other thing it does is in one of these, if you do have your own Inventor part, you apply it to your bridge. You can come back into the properties over in the style palette And there is a little recycle button up here, check for updates. So if you actually change your IPT file, you did something wrong, so you change it, update it. You can just hit this button rather than having to make a new part and replace all the parts in your model. It will just update the part in the properties or in the style palette on the side, and then update the models, anything that's using that part automatically as it does. So very steep bridge that, but anyway, the road would have been worse. That's nice. Some little improvements for those who are actually using this. Many of you won't be. I know just enough Inventor to get myself into big trouble, but little improvements, again, incremental improvements that have been made version to version. Finally, one more thing, again, talking about bridges still, in the structures here, if you're using the line girder analysis and exporting it out to, what's it called, Autodesk Structural Bridge Design, to do an analysis on the bridges that you've been putting in here, or a first order analysis. That's down here, open in Autodesk Structural Bridge Design. There's now an extra button down the bottom here. So if you actually look at the analysis in ASBD, change something in there, reanalyze it, that's better. You can bring the model back from ASBD and it will update it in Infraworks without you having to manually do that. So just an extra button there for those using that functionality. All right, and that is almost exactly top of time, and that is where we wanted to get to. So back into the little PowerPoint. Looking at questions, there's a couple of questions here. Codes to extract, can save settings. Somebody's asking if they can save settings when you're extracting the Autodesk solids, so the corridor solids that I was showing earlier on. Is there a way to save the settings in the template for the layer names? I don't believe so. That's been something I've been wanting as well, but I certainly haven't seen that yet and haven't heard that it's been put in yet, but that would be really nice, I agree. Chris Blair, go away. No, I can't do an animated drive through across my bridge just at the moment, but you can, if you're doing your animations in Infraworks, everybody else here that's on this call would be able to tell you that yes, you can, because it's a design road, a component road, you can go for a drive along that when you're setting up your video fly-throughs. And can you report drainage pipes relative to a drive range? Relative to a depth range? If you made a surface, I think you can. I think a surface is able to be looked at in relation to a depth range when you've got pipes in the Project Explorer. Not 100% on that. You'd have to have a look, but for many things you can report against the surface. I would think if anything, the pipes would be able to be reported against that. Alternatively, with the pipes, there is you could set that up as a rule. So it would tell you if you're above or below a certain depth and whether the rule is met or exceeded, but I don't know whether it, I haven't seen that yet. Okay. All right. That's the end of the questions at this point, I think. So one more thing before we leave. There is a couple of promotions on at the moment. If you're thinking about changing your subscriptions or your Autodesk products, if you're getting changing your licensing to ATK Technologies, you can go into the drawer to get to Autodesk University, so that'll be pretty cool. And also, if you're thinking about purchasing any Autodesk Construction Cloud products, you can also go in for tickets for the State of Origin. So if you feel like, if you're somebody that likes entering competitions and you're thinking about updating your Autodesk products, you have a look at those. And yeah, if you're getting more Autodesk collection licenses, you can get 20% off our classroom training. So just a couple of things there. Go and have a look at the A2K website for more details on those. Finally, if there's more webcasts you'd like to come and have a look at, visit the A2K Technologies website, the events tab up the top, or put in events, and you can have a look at what's coming up. Also, if there's anything else you want, if there's more questions you've got on the just done, or if you're watching this on our post on YouTube, and there's more information you want to know, you can, oops, sorry, there we go, contact us via email at info@a2ktoechnologies.com.au. So hopefully shown you a couple of new things there that you can take advantage of in the next year with 2023. And we'll hopefully catch you on the next one of these webcasts. Have a nice afternoon and get through to the end of Friday and have a nice weekend. See you later.